Well, Andrew, thanks so much for this opportunity, and welcome all of you who don't already come to this building every day. Small business. Let me tell you a little bit about my background, because I feel a little bit intimidated by your background here. I am not an expert in any area whatsoever. In fact, I am what you call someone who has an interest in everything, to my detriment, perhaps. Some of the causes I've been involved in, I worked in a prison for 7 years as a social worker. Trenton State Prison, Yardville, etc. And I'll tell you something. Seeing this diversity in this room is very emotional for me, because I don't see this that often. And this is something that we're striving towards as a company, to be as diverse as we can. But a lot of it goes back to those days when I worked in the prison that opened up my eyes to what is possible and how we can make a difference. And my business is actually, I consider it a tool, a vehicle to making change. And so everything I do has to pass a litmus test. And my company, my people, Ashley and Giselle, who are here today, who I love dearly, I can say that about many of the people that work for me. We are as diverse as you can possibly get, and that makes us better for that diversity. As I said, working in a prison really shaped who I am today. And when I came to Hugo Neu, it was essentially a small business. We were global in that we were one of the largest recyclers in the United States at the time. This particular property, I'm not a real estate developer. That's another thing. At my age, I'm starting something new. And this is a startup for us. So we took industrial scrap, automobiles, shredded them, and exported the material overseas. So we had markets through the Far East, places that today are much more developed, but back then were essentially undeveloped. And we sold to every steel mill in the world. So this facility, over time, that business went away. And unfortunately, it went to countries that don't have the kind of infrastructure that we have here in terms of regulations. So now it's being done in Bangladesh, it's being done in China, places where it's being done manually and people are getting hurt and the environment is being destroyed. That's what happens, unfortunately. So over time, this facility became an industrial warehouse distribution just because of the nature of the buildings. They lent themselves to that kind of activity. Unfortunately, because we were in the recycling business, and it is a business that's very cyclical. It's one of those, you have very good years, and then you have very bad years, depending on the commodity prices. Today, the commodity prices are not so good. The oil price is something that has a great impact on commodity prices overall. So as oil goes down, commodity prices go down because the virgin materials become cheaper and there's not as many markets for recycling. So this became, for us, our safety net, because we're in a strategic location, we're close to the port, we're close to the airport, we're close to New York City, and we always were full. Even these substandard C buildings were full, except for this building, by the way. This building was always empty because it had multiple floors. Could I get some water? Anyway, I'm not going to go much more than your 20 seconds, I promise. But what happened here, two things happened. My late husband passed away in 2013, right after Hurricane Sandy. We were 4 feet underwater. We thought, oh my God, everybody's going to leave. They didn't. Why? Because of the location. And probably the cheap rents. That had something to do with it. But it was the location primarily. So my husband passes away suddenly, and I have no real estate experience. But I learned something. Excuse me. I'm like Donald Trump here, drinking water. I learned something from my husband, who was brilliant and had vision. And that was, and he always told me this, if anything ever happened to him, that I'd be okay. And I always said, no, there's no way I can run this business on my own. I don't have that experience. I'm a nonprofit person. I, get involved in social, environmental causes. And he said, no, Wendy, what you will do is you will surround yourself with people who can help you. And he was right. My CFO, who I met, by the way, not through business, and this is where you have to really think about and open up your minds to different things. I met him through the animal rights movement. He was someone that my husband and I got involved with. We were proponents of several issues, animal issues in the city, and we got to know Steve. And wouldn't you know it, he had 40 years of real estate experience. So I think he got tired of me calling him at 6 a.m. every morning, asking him, what should I do about this? What should I do about that? I need to figure out what to do with this site. He finally one day said, you know what, Wen, why don't I just come in? And he's been with me ever since. And he is, I wouldn't be here but for him. I was very lucky. But there were many other people, ex-offenders that had worked with me for, at that point, I guess it was 4 or 5 years, that had been some of my most loyal employees, working in a very difficult small business that we had up in Mount Vernon, New York, electronics recycling. Don't ever go into that business. It is a disaster. No regulation, so of course we wanted to maintain certain environmental standards, labor standards. We were paying our people $15 an hour long before people were talking about that. But it made us uncompetitive. We couldn't compete, no matter how hard we tried. And yes, we could have done a better job at selling, perhaps, but I don't believe that the industry was ready for us. We were too soon, too early, and we just wouldn't compromise. But my guys and women stuck with me and worked as hard as they could, and then eventually we brought them here. And they're now learning this business. Because you can't ever let good people go. They will learn it. They will, if you give them the time and the opportunity, they will learn it. And sure enough, they are. And of course, you see Ashley, Giselle, others that have come along. And I believe part of why they're with me, it's not because of me. It's because they feel we're on a mission, that we do want to do, of course we want to make some money, but no, we don't want to make those double-digit returns. That's not sustainable. You talk about sustainability, those are not sustainable. But yes, we have to make enough money so we can grow and we can provide our people with opportunities, and we can help more small businesses by creating space like this. So yes, we're on a mission, and I think that does make a difference. I have to believe that, because certainly we're not paying people these huge salaries, but we are paying them, I hope, good salaries. And I hope they know that as we grow and as we do better, they will be part of that. But I think they realize we're part of something a bit bigger. So let me talk about this site. So after Sandy, our first thought was, well, what we'll do is we'll just take down all these old historical buildings, which was the easiest thing to do, elevate the site, get it out of harm's way, because we all know climate change is here, and put up more industrial Class A buildings, whatever that means. I'm not even sure what that means, but that's what we would do. And we just collect checks, which is what industrial developers do, by the way. It is, I now understand why so many people want to go in real estate. not only for the taxes, but for everything. It's just a business that once you build it, you can get that annuity every year. And then when Steve came on board, Steve Nislik, my CFO, who'd had 40 years experience, he came to the site and he said, wow, you've got something here. You've got something really special. Well, I had worked here in the ship dismantling business, and I never really thought it was that special. It was dirty, it was hard, it was, not really a place that I wanted to hang out. But he helped me see it in a different light. And he helped me think about it in a way, well, this is consistent with a lot of my values and what I believe in, helping small businesses, helping people grow and hire other people, because I do believe it is the economic engine for the future. And that's what we want to do here, is create jobs. There used to be 35,000 jobs on this 130-acre site during World War II. Maybe 300 with industrial distribution. We now have how many jobs here?
We have, in this building alone,
people?
About 300 to 325 people.
This was empty. This building had nothing in it before we started doing this. And we didn't know what we were doing, and that's another point. Sometimes you have to believe in yourself, and sometimes you have to take that risk. And what we're planning on doing, we hope that one day we'll have 8,000 to 10,000 people working on this site. But it's risky, and that's the other point. It takes a certain confidence to be able to do that, and I admire all of you for doing what you're doing, because I know it is risky, and it'd be much easier going to work for someone and collecting a paycheck, but you're really building something. And that's what we need. That's what this country needs, is this kind of energy, this kind of passion for what you're doing. So, at some point we can run you through our renderings and what we're thinking of doing, but I can tell you that it is going to be much different. And I can also guarantee that no matter what it looks like, because it is evolving like everything else, it is going to make a difference in this region, one way or another, but it will be positive, and I hope it is transformative, that we can then encourage others to do this kind of developing. The other thing is, we're not real estate developers in the sense that you think of real estate developers. We're not looking to flip this. This has been part of me since I started working at Hugo Neu in the mid-'80s. This is something I care about deeply. So at the end of the day, we're not looking to sell it. We're looking to make it better and improve it, and to use the waterfront as an amenity, to clean it up, to make it so the public now have access to this site. We would never allow the public on previously. It was just too dangerous. But now our plans are that we will open up the South Basin. We're not sure what we're going to do with that. And you live with a certain amount of uncertainty when you're doing something like this, but you get used to that. But we're hoping that at some point we can get the public to come to this site and enjoy it. There'll be over 25 acres of open space, natural landscape, which also will help with the stormwater issues, the flooding, all of that. So that's all I have to say, actually. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Wendy, for sharing some of the great things that you're doing, and also encouraging. Sometimes you need some encouraging words as an entrepreneur, and support this place is doing great things. Thanks again for sharing, Wendy. the next step is our kickoff for the Small Business Expo. We're going to do that in about 15 minutes, so if you could hang out down here, do some networking, meet some people. That's an important part of being here, as well as, we got to learn a little bit about everybody, so I'm sure there's people you'd like to meet. If you're vending, it would be good to go upstairs so you can just get your things set up so that when we come up, you'll be ready and have an opportunity to sort of introduce you and what you're doing and great products and services that you provide. Thanks again for having us. Yes.
I just want to say too, if anybody has any brief questions, we're definitely open to those. Yes, we can answer any questions about Project.
Thank you, Ashley. Yes, I do have a question for Wendy. As you know, I'm Casey Carpenter, the Sales Breakthrough Coach. And every great entrepreneur's story is fraught with adversity, right? There's, you fall down, you get up, 10 times. So I want to look at the other side of that coin. I'd love to know more about your fulfillment practices. Like, what did you share with us that we could do so that we're inspired and wake up every day, really full of energy around what we have to do? Because it's not easy.
No, it's not. I totally understand that. What I said earlier about us being on a mission gets me up in the morning. It's not about, and obviously I'm in a position where it's easy for me to say that, and I totally reckon. I did not come from a wealthy family, and I'm an immigrant here. But what gets me up in the morning sometimes is, and there are many mornings where I think, oh my God, I'm not sure I can face it, is that I really believe I'm supposed to be here doing this, and that I am not finished yet. I've done a lot of things in my life, some good, some bad, but I'm not finished. And although I don't have a lot of the expertise that you have in this room, and I'm still learning every single day, I do think that my desire to do something that is positive, that will make a difference, leave something behind. I don't have children, by the way, so I am sort of, in some ways that's good, in other ways it's not good, because first of all, you tend not to have the same perspective. My life is my work, whether it's this business or my nonprofit work or my advocacy, and I sometimes lose perspective, so I have to be very cognizant of that. But and I'm demanding in many respects, because I do feel in so many ways that there's only so much time to get all this done. But I'm driven, my passion comes from the people I work with, ensuring that they have a future, because I care about them deeply. And I've been very fortunate in the people that I have around me. And I think people are what makes a business succeed. No matter what technology you're talking about, no matter what brilliant idea you have, it's all about the people. And so I don't know how to explain it better than that, except that every day I feel there's something I can do that's going to have an impact on someone's life or their well-being, and that's important to me. So I don't know if I answered the question, perhaps not.
Hi, I was very excited when Andrew said that you would be speaking and who you were, and just in dealing with Ashley, she doesn't know, because when I met Ashley, I was like, this is the incredible building, and there's this young black woman managing it, and I don't want to turn this into a man versus woman thing, but from you doing what you do, you encourage me. And I hope that, like you said, those who you surround yourself with will continue to encourage you. And when you say you're not this and you're not that, I'm sorry, ma'am, you're all that.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for saying that, because it's not been easy in many ways. And I have to, I've been very, very lucky though. So I luck is always a part of our success, no matter how smart you think you are or how brilliant. You have to, timing is everything. But there has been resistance from this diversity and from bringing people in who are ex-offenders. I mean, I have executives that said, oh, that's not going to work. You can't. And I'm like, you know what? Give it some time. If you feel that way, you're welcome to leave. But there's no place for you here otherwise if you can't sign on to this. Because that is that important to me, that we provide opportunities for people who have been marginalized. And I don't care who they are, women, men, whatever, but we are going to do that. We are not going to leave people behind. If we're successful, they're going to be successful with us. So, look, guys, this country is a mess, and we can change it. We can change it. I do firmly, that's why I came here. That's why my parents came here, because, this was a place where we thought we could not only do better, but make a difference. So, it's always good to have, I have people that, have never interacted with anyone who's ever been to prison for the kind of time my folks have been. And they've come away saying, oh my God, they're smart. They like working with them. It makes the work that much better. And, this is who we are. We're not white old men. But we have some of them, because you need that for diversity, right? True diversity. But, we are going to, that's who we are. That's the face of Hugo Neu, and that's going to continue to be the face of Hugo Neu, and I'm so proud of that.
Personally, just to piggyback off of what Wendy has said about being led by women, and I don't want to make the men feel marginalized in the room, but it's important, right? It really is important for folks in general to feel empowered on a daily basis. I think when you build a business or when you're active in some sort of a project, you have to vest yourself in it. You have to find some piece of it that is native and innate to who you are inside. And I think that's a part of our success here with Wendy and Steve leading us. They're vested. They're here. For Wendy to be here on a Saturday morning, devoting her time to us, it's something really special. And that's the quality that she has.
What else would I be doing?
No, that's the quality that she has as a leader, is that she makes us feel important, and she encourages us to take a little piece of this building and make it yours and make it comfortable. And the other thing that's important to me too in working here, and in any, I think, small business is I call us all for the X, right? So there's always something that is an anomaly or something that you have to figure out on a daily basis. There's some sort of a challenge that you navigate through. And I think that that's my driver too. The other thing that helps, and I know Giselle can piggyback off of this as well, is that seeing these businesses grow.
Yeah.
Literally coming here every day and seeing someone who started out as a solopreneur in a hot desk, where they're paying $150 a month just to be able to use the building. Then they progressed into a single-person office. Then they progressed into a two-person office. Then they're in a flex space. Then they're in our offices saying, I need more space. That's a beautiful thing. Joe Bear has done it here in the building. That's very much his story. Several other tenants in the building have done it, and that is the most powerful feeling is to be able to know in some way, shape, or form
You were part of
contributed
that.
to that process. So,
It's a very, very good
And
point.
to super piggyback on it, I actually found Kearny Point as a resident. I came looking I was a manager for a photography company, and we were looking for space. And we saw this billboard, and we were like, oh, let's go check it out. What's the worst that can happen? Let's just go see it. This was rubble. What you see, where we're standing was legit rubble. I believed in the renderings. I believed in the strong words of Ashley. So I came here with my business. And the energy that you have when you walk into this place, the people that she has as her, as her,
Ours.
so ours. Okay, the people that we are surrounded with, and that's one of the greatest things that she had said is who you surround yourself with. So Ms. Carpenter, when you had asked her that question, I automatically felt it because I know the business is built with who you surround yourself with, and she surrounded this entire area with such great energy. So you could just come in here, you feel empowered, you feel just ready to work. I felt so ready to work that I left the work that I had to be part of her work. That's how great it was. And that's what inspires me. That's what gets me up every single day. I don't think I've ever complained about time here. I don't think I've ever complained about anything because I love being here. And as any business owner, I think that's what you need to cultivate. That's what you need to bring into your business, and that's what will make it strive. Because there's not a day that I don't sleep and I don't think, how can I wake up and make it better at work because of the energy that she's able to provide to everybody. That's my story. So.
I have a question for you. You were sitting here. You mentioned that there are warning signs that you've now learned over the years when it comes to building a small business as well as investing in small business. I won't put you on the spot to ask you for a top 10 list. So just one warning sign.
The biggest one. So I have an investment in a small business. I'm the major investor. It's in the recycling area. I don't run it, although I try to give some words of advice. Very little do they listen to. I think you start a small business and you're ready to go. You've got all these great ideas. You're like, I can do this and I know what I'm doing, and you sort of get this tunnel vision. And you lead investors to think that it's going to happen much sooner than it actually does, because it always takes longer than you think it does. And you should prepare for that. It doesn't happen in 6 months, may not happen in a year, may take 2 years. But you can never, ever, investors lose confidence in you when you keep putting out projections that aren't accurate, that you can't attain. I don't want to see them anymore, the projections. I don't even look at them anymore because they've been wrong for 2 years. I know you're getting close, but it's still, you're just not being honest with yourself particularly. And so you lose confidence. You stop sort of paying attention because, it's been 2 years and you've still not met those projections. So it always takes longer, and you have to build that in. Even though you think, you've done this before, you've got a brilliant idea that's going to take you to the next level. Doesn't work out that way, and there's always unexpected things that happen. I have one company that I do believe, even though they've not met their projections, is an environmental technology company, clean water company that has technology for cleaning up oil spills, et cetera, et cetera. They got involved in something in New York State, not of their own doing, but it took 2 years. Lawyers' fees, traveling back and forth, depositions, et cetera, et cetera. 2 years to get through that. They had nothing to do with it, but things happen. And so you have to be very cautious. And so that's why one of the reasons we're doing this too is you want to keep your fixed costs as low as possible while you're in that stage. And one of your fixed costs are rent. And there's no reason why small businesses have to operate in these terrible little offices that, you know, with no light, no conveniences. And we're hoping that we can provide that here and throughout the site. But you do have to be very, very cognizant of your fixed costs and make sure that you're meeting your targets every week, not every month, every week. And that you're giving yourself enough room for those unexpected events to occur. Because that's the one thing, if you don't meet those projections, that's the one thing investors, you know, will suddenly think, well, you know, how can I have confidence in this? Is this a real business model? Does this really work? So I don't know if that sort of
Yeah, that
answers your
answered it.
question.
I just want you to know that when I go to the movies, I never watch the trailers. And I do that because I always want to be surprised. I seem to enjoy it more. So I didn't look you up at all, even though we had
Right.
the opportunity to do so. I took it at face value what Louis said, and I just have to tell you, you're a very genuine person. Very impressed.